Welcome to the Living Consciously TV show coming to you live from Denver, Colorado. I'm your host as well as your moderator. And our theme today is the media responsible for our conditioning? And let me introduce you to our guest today, also our entire cast. And our cast today is Sensei Grant. He is the Doctor of Wellness specialist, and he is joining us from Georgia. Welcome to the show, Dr. Grant, Sensei Grant, actually.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it, Steve.
Good to have you here. And also our cast members, beginning with Jamie Lerner on the left-hand side of Sensei Grant. She is our Self-Growth cast member, and she's joining us from the beautiful city of Chicago. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you as well. And then we have Amy Boland. She is joining us from New York, and she's our Health cast member. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you so much, Steve, and thank you, Dr. G. Welcome.
Good to have you from the big metropolis.
Thank you.
I lived there for 3 years, so I know a little bit about it. And also welcome Lorraine Eady. She is our Relationship and Personal Finance cast member, and she's joining us from Florida, I believe. Is that accurate?
Georgia.
Georgia. We have some new cast members, so I'm still in training. All right. So the first half hour of our show today, our first segment, will be about exploring in a dialogue with the cast and also with our guest some of the problems and some of the issues from being conditioned by the media, and what does it cost us as human beings. And the second half of our show will be about in a dialogue again with the cast and with Sensei, what are some of the solutions and some of the modalities that we have all used, either for ourselves or for our clients, to make sure that we don't get to be controlled by the media or anything else for that matter. So let's begin with my question to Sensei. Today, most of our parents out there, and this is also my experience with my kids, that a lot of the parents out there are using television as a babysitter. And I'm just curious, Dr. Sensei, Sensei Grant, it's okay. It's okay. It's live television. It's reality TV. This is perfect just the way it comes across. So, parents using the television as a babysitter, what effect does that have on our children growing up?
That's a good question, and that's a big one. It's mostly 10 miles of bad road. It depends entirely on the consciousness of the parents, because 99.9% of the population to this day is still unaware of the most recent findings in neuroscience, and they don't understand how the mind works. So, our mind, the fundamental basis is this: you have two minds, conscious and the subconscious. And the conscious mind is not even active in children until the age of 6. From 6 going backwards to 6 months of gestation, the mind is being developed. It's in a state of, we call it theta. And once a child is born, for instance, so that they can watch television or be subjected to the outside world, all of their senses record in their feeling part of their brain everything they experience as fact, as truth. So if they're using TV as a babysitter, most of the stuff on television is trash. It's developed by people that have their own agendas, basically for making money or doing whatever it is that they want to do. And everything, depending on the age of the child, it's going directly into their mind verbatim. And what does that amount to as they grow up? All of the download is recorded. It becomes their belief system. In human beings, perception means beliefs. And since the subconscious mind is 1 million times more powerful than the conscious mind to the subconscious is a 1 to 1 million ratio. The conscious brain is only active 5% of the day, and 70% of its material in all of us is redundant and negative, except for really conscious people. So if they're using TV, it's the worst possible scenario, unless the parent is really conscious, either finds their own DVDs that are really good for their children.
Okay, Sensei, we'll talk about that in the second part of the show because that's really a solution.
I got it.
So do you mean, so what I'm hearing you saying is that, is this what people refer to as children are like a sponge?
Yes.
Children are a sponge. But what's even more important is that all that time that our children are sitting in front of the television, that's time that they're not connecting with us. And so I believe that is really why parents do that. They choose to put their children in front of the television because they're busy or they're wanting to tend to something that's more important, like their work. A lot of people are stay at home now and working. But I think the real concern is the amount of time that the child is disconnected from people.
Can I jump in for? Can I jump in for a minute just to
you don't have to ask, just jump in.
Well, I want to alleviate a lot of the probable fear and panic that's happening as a result of parents thinking that, oh my God, my child is watching television, they won't become a successful person, or they're being marred by this box with visions coming out of them. As a child, I stayed in front of the television. My parents, it wasn't a babysitting service as it's been called. It's just the way things were. And I consider myself to be fairly successful. My children, I have to be very honest, they watch television. It drives me crazy because I can't get them away from it. Am I a bad parent? And I want the other parents watching to know that maybe we can come up with solutions later, but they're not bad parents if their children are sitting in front of the television. It's a lot easier to say, have them watch another show. I would love for my child to watch Animal Kingdom, and she can't stand it. She wants to watch whatever, I don't even know what it's called. But it's
Well,
very difficult to manage, so I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, great.
And I would like to qualify something, ladies. Please don't misunderstand, or anyone listening to this. I'm describing a mechanism of how your brain works, and it's a fact. You can't argue it. That I'm never making a qualifying statement regarding the quality of the parents at all. In no way, shape, or form. Most people, the whole reason I'm excited to be on the show is to help people understand what's going on or how it works. Because if in the military, if you want to kill somebody, I'm a martial specialist, you use an ambush. Ambushes work specifically for one reason. Nobody knows they're going to be ambushed. That's how a rattlesnake kills a rat. The rat doesn't know the rattlesnake's there till it's too late. We as parents can't we can't do things really great for the kids if we don't understand the mechanism.
Right.
So I'm never insinuating in any way, shape, or form that they're not loving, great parents. I just want to understand the mind. Because
thank you.
like I said earlier, 99% of the population doesn't even know the new literature. Even people that are scientists with PhDs that are still locked in the old dogma, they don't know. So this is real cutting edge stuff.
And also, the message is continually to disengage with yourself and put your attention outside of yourself. And I think that is the danger. It's not even in the programming. It's the message that we're giving our children at an early age because we're unaware of maybe what that underlying message is. And that's how children and young adults become disconnected from themselves because their attention is outside of themselves instead of being redirected back to themselves. And so for me, I think that is the underlying issue of why television or anything that coaches our children away from themselves is a potential problem.
Yeah, the same thing is true.
I wanted to say something. This is so exciting because, Amy, you brought up an issue. My son was raised in front of television, and as an adult, I can see the difference in him. Do I feel guilty about it? No. That's what I used as a babysitter. That's what I knew. However, he does have relationship problems. He does have, I can see it in how he relates to people. And even when I go to visit him, he's in front of the computer or the television. It's the way he bonded and has that connection, and I can see it. So I try to really work with him because I wasn't raised watching television, and he was, so I can see the difference.
Yeah,
I like Dr. G's ambush analogy because in a ironic way, that's actually what's happening if you think about it.
Yes, exactly.
Because as parents, we don't know that our children are being. We don't know that our children are being ambushed by these visions, or I don't even know what to call the television, but it's lights and camera action, ambush.
The television is actually a device that can be used for good, and it can be used for bad. And we probably want to explore that on this show, at least on the first half. But it isn't. We're not just here. We didn't pick this theme just to beat up on the media, because it's also true for video games. Kids have learned to spend unbelievable amount of time with video games, and just like Jamie said, when you play a video game, you are not connected to yourself, nor you are connected to anybody else.
But wait a second. I disagree about the video games. Video game is an interactive virtual reality. And what I have found to be so is that people who are engaged with video games are actually manifesting for themselves tremendously. And I really like the idea of people on Facebook engaging with games that are creating a virtual reality for themselves, or video games, because it is an interactive opportunity for, believe me, these kids or parents or whoever are connecting with themselves. But it's a virtual reality.
Okay, well, I'm also going to respectfully disagree with you, because
you may.
there are good video games and there are video games that are not good. They are bad. So
well,
I've seen video. Yes, that's a judgment.
That is a judgment.
I've seen video games where all I see is guns and blood. The entire game is about that. And it's a good thing that we have Sensei on the show, because he knows a little bit about war, and he knows a little bit about killing. So please, Sensei, follow me on this thought.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, because this is one of the key critical areas to know. From 3 months of gestation, the midbrain starts to energetically form. And by 6 months, it's actively forming. While you're in your mother, the hypothalamus is taking care of everything. But when you're born, as you leave your mom, the amygdala kicks in. And the amygdala's job is to, and it's part of the feeling brain, not the thinking brain. The amygdala's job is to scan the environment for danger, anything that's negative, anything that's a threat, okay? Now, this is a real big issue. I could talk for hours and hours and hours, but fundamentally, anytime there is a thought about anything, there is a corresponding feeling that goes with that, okay? And those feelings, that's like an energetic imprint. So when what Steve is referring to, whether it's a video game or whether it's a movie or it's an internet thing, whatever it is, the reason CNN is so popular, constantly negative news, is because we're wired to be interested in danger, bad news, ugliness. That's why, if you watch a hockey game now, if you went back 30 years ago, there's the occasional fight. Nowadays, the entire thing is a fight. It's because that's what sells.
But I don't think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I don't think that we're consciously wired for negative. I think when we're conscious, we're not wired for negative.
Well, yes, ma'am. That's what I'm trying to tell you. All of what I'm describing is unconscious.
Unconscious, absolutely.
And it's in the feeling brain. So what happens is what Steve is referring to, if you're watching a video game, I don't care if you're what you're watching. When you watch something that has ugliness, violence, negative, whatever, the amygdala picks it up. When it picks it up, it activates the chemical, it reproduces the physiology inside your child or inside yourself called defense physiology. And when it does that, the blood is constricted to the frontal cortex, the thinking conscious brain that is actually who you are. And it is shunted to the unconscious subconscious brain, which is automatic, does not think, and is simply a giant tape recorder. And so this is the way, like it or not, this is the way we're made. When you understand, my hope for society is, if you understand this mechanism, you can then use it to your advantage. But if you're not understanding it, you literally constantly reinforce the wiring in see, you have to understand the conscious brain is only when you and I are looking at each other. That part that's listening to us talking, we think it's nothing. It only operates 5% of the day. It's a tiny, 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 tiny processor. It only fires 40 neurons to every 40,000 to every 40 million in the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is running. So the only way you can have power and flow is if you make the conscious brain, conscious mind, and the programming in the subconscious mind in alignment.
So how do we do that?
You can selectively sift, because what I believe is that when you are connected to yourself, you choose to be attracted to what resonates with you. And you can do that through watching CNN. You can watch CNN and selectively sift through all that information and only take in what resonates with you. So I don't even believe it is the programming out there. I believe it is the programming within for us to be able to get conscious enough to be able to watch or see or do or be with anybody, and then be able to tap into that resource, inner resource, and selectively sift and to only take in what truly resonates with each one of us from our conscious place of connection.
Well, and out of all respect, I think that's wonderful wishful thinking, and maybe the odd person that's a Buddha walking around here can do that, right. But chances are you're just fooling yourself.
Well, I think it's something we can practice ourselves into. I don't think it's fooling ourselves. I think if we're clear about the possibility of that kind of connection and decision making, then we practice ourselves into doing just that.
As long as you know the methodology, but otherwise, what you do is it's just rationalized illusion. But that's what we'll do in the second half of the show. There are umpteen methods designed now.
There are.
And you can reprogram what you want.
Yes, and from what I understand, that's exactly what your work is about. So it's very important that we really move to that quickly so that people understand that this show is really helping people to get to that place where they can tap into these tools and move beyond what is.
Well, and
we will move there. We will move there. However, at first, I think we need to talk about this subject enough so that people can relate to really what the issues are and what the problems are. Unless we have clarity about what that is, and that's what we've been talking about. And I think to summarize what Sensei is saying is that like everything that's going on in the world, including what's going on with us, I sometimes describe it as it's a game. And if it's a game, if we can agree that everything is a game, including humanity itself, then there has to be rules and there has to be tools that we have access to play the game correctly. Meaning that if we don't understand how the human brain works and how this human body and this entire entity works, then the chances are us playing the game properly is slim or none.
Right, and it's not correctly, it's effectively, because there is no correct or incorrect.
Well, there is because
no, it's to maximize.
Because hang on for a second. So when you are watching a football game or let's say a soccer game, are you telling me that there is no correctly playing that game?
I don't really know about correct or incorrect. I think everyone has the opportunity to have an experience, and to maximize our experience is what we're trying to understand. How can we maximize that experience? That's it.
Well, if I may just bring this issue up a little bit. I was listening today to Mr. Bruce Lipton. I hope everybody in the world listens to Bruce Lipton, one of the world's most brilliant microbiologists. And the issue, what's happening is this is like a matrix. Once you know the way the subconscious works and that it operates 95 to 97% of every day, all day. The conscious brain isn't. And one of the reasons, like I was watching some of Steve's older shows, they say like, why isn't our life working? We're doing all kinds of positive thinking. We're doing meditation. We do this or we do that. But there's a lot of struggle in my life. I haven't achieved. I haven't changed this, or different things aren't happening. It's because the conscious brain, if it's at odds with a program in the subconscious, it'll never work. And here's the other thing: the basic problem is the stuff in the subconscious mind is not from us. It's somebody else. It's your mom, your dad, your uncle, or in the worst case, it's somebody from a television program. Okay. Now that's why pharmacology, at least 6 years ago, was killing over 60 or 80,000 Americans from properly prescribed drugs, according to the New England Journal of Medicine. It's a homunculus. It's just a homunculus. But people buy that stuff because they're programmed to do it. The moment that they're programmed to believe that if they get sick, they need a doctor, they don't need a doctor. Never needed a doctor. But that's why one third of all medical healings is just placebo. So anyway, what happens is right now we're facing the 6th complete extinction of life on Earth, the 6th one. And the reason, the imperative here is we need to become conscious. And the only way we're going to do that is reprogram and eliminate enough of the population, the negative programming that blindly follows all of these lies, garbage, illusions, stupidity, selfishness, all of this stuff, because it's what's killing the planet. The sixth extinction is due to human causes. And the only reason that's happening is these illusions and these ideas just perpetuate themselves because no one knows. The subconscious is invisible, so we don't see our behavior. You have to become consciously aware enough, and we'll talk about, I guess, second half, how to tie into what are the programs running us.
And the reason to do that, though, is that we can make choices for ourselves. And I think that's very important for people to understand, because really we don't need to do anything different, but we can. And if we do, then we will have access to making choices for ourselves that potentially maximize our experience here and now.
But hang on for a second. Hang on for a second. So how much responsibility do we have as human beings in terms of what we talked about at the very beginning? Because I think we're stepping over something really important here. It's just my feeling. is that how much responsibility do we have in terms of what is that child receiving into his or her mind?
Everything you possibly can. You can't climb right into the child, but you have to understand that the environment is we are the environment. It's not the other way around.
Well, the environment is the incubator, that's for sure. However,
Yes. So-
children are extremely resilient, and
Yeah, but Miss, that's way oversimplified. If you want to change the outcome and save the planet, that idea is what'll kill everything. Being resilient, of course they're resilient. A worm is resilient, but that's just a survival mechanism. If you want evolution, you want to, and evolution and growth, then you want children, for instance, that grow up with really good self-images, real great, a real great self-esteem. They need to believe in themselves. They need to understand that they are the caretakers of the earth, that we're all a human family, so that we are connecting to each other and connecting to nature, and that there's so many things. And just being resilient, I'm sorry, Miss, but that's dead and gone.
that's okay.
Dr.
But
Grant, Dr. Grant,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what you're saying, and it's really so powerful because what's happening now, and I know about the amygdala and that function, and we're in survival mode. We've been in survival mode for numerous years, and
Yes.
being in survival mode, we're operating from the amygdala, which is the fight or flight. So much of what is happening for us on the whole is that we're dealing with that, and we're not consciously, like you say, Jamie, we're not consciously aware. So this is a conversation to help us, those of us that may be more conscious, but to help those listening to become consciously aware that their responsibility is within them, and then they can educate themselves.
Okay. So,
And even more so is that I believe what you're saying, Doctor, is that we have to start focusing on our younger people
Yes.
and getting them directed to the
Right.
point. It's not like we won't get there, but we've already been established. That amygdala, if I'm not mistaken, between the ages of 15 and 21 is when it's most active, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
No, that's old data, honey. The beautiful thing about our brains, it has complete plasticity. If you live to be 3,000 years old, no problem at all. And later on in this show, I'll tell you exactly how you can change the wiring like that. And that's all hard data. No one can argue with nothing. I do it every day.
But do
It's
you
all
think
proof.
that we need to present all the information in a fear-based way in order to get people's attention? Because that's exactly what you're doing, which is no different than CNN or any other programming.
I didn't get any fear-based.
I'm sorry it
No,
might seem like that, but the world
I disagree. It's not fear-based.
Yeah, I haven't gotten
we
that.
need to educate ourselves and educate the public about what Sensei is talking about. But hang on for a minute. Let me do a personal example, because it just so happens that personal examples always work quite powerfully. So take a look at myself. Okay, this is Steve, Coach Steve, as a child. Okay, can you imagine?
No,
I was in Budapest, Hungary, when I was a child. We didn't have a television. Oh my God, we had one channel. Okay, one channel of television. One, not 1,000. One. In order for me to watch television, we had to go to somebody else's house, and which happened maybe once or twice a week. Now compare that to my grandson, who is 9 years old. He has access to 998 channels, several thousand video games. So Sensei, please educate us. Which human being has a better chance of having to grow up in a healthy environment? Coach Steve or my grandson?
Coach Steve. There's I mean, I could talk forever about all the reasons, but one of the things that she said first off is very critical. Human contact is, you know, that today, well, even just after the Industrial Revolution, the average boy in America spends approximately 10 minutes a day of actual quality time with his father.
That is
10,
nothing.
10
nothing.
minutes.
It's
Now,
nothing.
you know, so what happens is, being human beings, biological beings, we need to be in connectivity to other human beings, and there is a transfer. If you pull up the Rupert Sheldrake's research on morphogenic field, it's absolutely vital. And then there's a whole progression there between children being in the mother's field from the womb up to a certain age, and then they need to be bond into the father's field, and ultimately they need to be able to break out of that so that they become actualized. There's all of this, and if they're just sitting in front of TVs and so forth, remember the average American is in front of a television, combined television and internet, 6 hours a day. Now, take that into the fact that most of it, in order for it to be entertaining, has violence or some kind of garbage in it, and it's somebody else's agenda, which is activating all of the viewers' amygdalas, which is because they're mostly unconscious, and then that's activating all of the old programs that they inherited as the generations go back into. Do you see how this works?
They don't have a chance. They don't have a chance.
Right.
No,
what I'm also hearing from a lot of grandparents in counseling is that they can't connect with their young grandchildren, that their grandchildren only will connect through texting. So
Yes.
they could be sitting right next to them and they'll be texting them. So
Yes.
there's that
Guilty
loss
of that.
connection. Yeah, there's that loss of connection, that eyeball to eyeball, that me being able to see you. That's why this is such an important program.
But we're
People
also
can see
putting, I'm sorry, Dr. Edie, we're also putting our own generational ethos, so to speak, on a new generation.
I think that's true.
I text my daughter, she could be in one room and I'm in the other room. I don't feel like screaming like my mother used to scream from one room to the next. Go wash the dishes. I will text her, go wash the dishes. Now, is that wrong, Dr. G, to be a 21st century parent? Or are we just so locked into the 20th century modality?
Let me offer you one other piece of information, since you're a mom, that you might want to consider. It is true now that we live in the modern society that we have so many great conveniences. For instance, we're all on Skype from different areas of the world right now. This is very wonderful. However, I'm sure you're aware that ADHD is now like an epidemic and getting worse. Mm-hmm. My good friend is a world-famous doctor, Dr. Jeff Britton, is in Houston, Texas. He's doing research right now on ADHD. And when you sift through all the information, what it basically comes down to is people are mostly in their heads, disconnected from their bodies. We are a gestalt. You know, the word gestalt, we're a whole. And actually, we won't get into it, but we're actually like a downloading receiver antenna for the field, okay? Well, anyway, what I would highly recommend is I wouldn't, if my daughter's in the other room, I would just take the moment to actually go over and speak to her.
And not only speak to her, but touch her when you speak to her. Because something happens when you make the physical connection. When I am with my children, I physically touch them as I speak to them. And that something happens there. Just
but I think that's a judgment. I think that's a judgment. I think that's a judgment to connect. But to say that that's the way it should be because of the way it's been done, I think that's a judgment. Paul?
Well, what I'm trying to get at, because the one thing I don't want to do is have anything to do with judgment. I got all kinds of judgment, but what I want to give you is just what I'm offering to you is that
A suggestion.
in the actual development of us as social beings, you can, if you can find a good balance between the conveniences and actual connectivity, like actual physical or voice or all these different things, they affect the way we develop and live in our health and everything much more than you can imagine. It's just I just like to always bring that up to you, especially as a mom. That human factor. Don't underestimate the power of that.
Right. And what do you do to recommend to parents what day in the life of a parent you would like to see be successful with their children from your perspective?
I have a student of mine that really understood this stuff. Him and his wife, they're really good, well-educated people, and they recognize this for whatever reason a long time ago. And what they do is, his name is John Wilkes, and his wife had a PhD in physical therapy, I think. And what they did was as their children were growing up, there were two boys, and in their particular case, rather than TV, they hand-selected videos and all the different things that they would watch together as a family. And I must say the boys have grown up now, they're men. And between that and at a certain point, the mother actually, in their case, she decided to homeschool. I have a tremendous amount of issues with the school system. School system is an indoctrination system of garbage, in my opinion. But in any case, and that includes university. I've been to a few universities in my day, and I don't have much of regard for them either. But what I would do is this: if I was a parent, is you need some real good quality time together. No TV, no radio, just being together, maybe like the family dinner, and it's just connecting with your hearts to one another, so that to help balance. Because here's the trick: we are in a technological world, and it's not going to go away, and it's even going to get faster. I wrote a book recently about that. It's going to speed up. So in order to counterbalance that, you need more high touch and more quality time, real connecting time, not with radios and text messaging or like at the dinner table. No phones allowed, no nothing. Just you and I and the kid, and we're all together. I make sure that I do that now with my wife, because as a man, I can get really tied. I get into the doing thing. That's what we want to do. And she wants to share about her day. It took me nearly 7 years of marriage to figure out that was really important. And now that I understand that's important, I really look forward to that. And it's just human connection. It's very vital.
And I have my daughter whose friend will Skype in. We have dinner around the table. It's a small table, but we still have dinner as a family. And her friend may be home alone. Her parents aren't in, and she'll Skype in, and I'll put her iPad right on the table. And my mother says that's absolutely ridiculous because you are bringing technology to the table. And I say to her, this is where we are today, Mom.
Yeah.
This is not. I don't have problems with that. And also, Doctor, you mentioned this well-educated family that did a lot of these things to make sure that their sons were of this world and present, which is, I think, fantastic. But what about the kids who don't have the finances or the socioeconomic status to be able to get the graces of that, of what you're speaking to?
That's why I was excited to do this show, because the answer, I guess I don't know when we kick into that part of the show.
We're already in it.
We're in it? Okay.
That's just how it goes.
Here's the way the answer to that goes is, once you understand, there's only one way if you don't understand the conscious, subconscious, and you don't understand how that works, you will never, ever conquer. But if you do know, then you can select as a child or whatever, you select what you allow in.
Selective sifting.
Yes.
You
wonderful tool.
allow in. You don't
Yes.
allow stuff that is anti-moral. Like it teaches your kids that when like I'm watching the movie the other day, and it's a 16-year-old girl seduces openly the man that's going through a divorce. It's like in his 50s next door, and it's okay with the whole families. And this is you want your kids to think like that? So destroying culture is not the way to go, in my opinion. So what you do is you select really good material that's going in, and it is inspiring, or it's something that it facilitates growth and evolution and lofty thinking, not the lowest common denominator, not following the village idiot that looks, following greatness. Because if we don't, I assure you, I don't have to assure you, all of the greatest minds in the world right now are all trying to figure out how to save the world. It isn't a little issue. It's not just let's all feel good and just experience we'll all be experiencing when it all crashes.
Okay,
Right,
so
well,
say,
let's
hang on for a second. So what I'm hearing here is, sometimes it's between the lines that I have to listen and get the message. So what I'm hearing is that every human being needs to be responsible for themselves. And there's no magic wand here that we can offer to people. So what I mean by that is everybody has to know who they really are and understand that they need to ask the question of themselves all the time, which is, what am I about to do and say? Is that in the best and highest interest of who I am as a human being? If we cannot ask that question, then I don't care what filters you're trying to put in place. The possibility of any filter to work is slim and none.
Yep, that's one thing, Steve. And then the other thing that is so interesting, but it's also so profound is.
So hang on for a second before you even go
Okay.
there. I want to go back to Amy's example.
Okay.
Okay, so when your daughter, so this is how this works out in reality right now. So when your daughter is in next door and you are in the kitchen, and you ask yourself the question, is it in my best interest of who I am as a mother and as a human being to text my daughter to do something, or is it in my highest and best interest to go next door and actually look at her in the eye and maybe even touch her and talk to her? Which is
Because
it?
I think there's an assumption, Steve, that we don't do that generally. And in regards to just finding the best possible, videos or higher level thinking items, in reality, and I can speak for many, many parents, it's very difficult to tell a 14-year-old, you're going to sit here and watch Dr. Jeff Britton's speech on, higher level thinking. You got to give people a better methodology as to how, when I text her, that's one way of giving her communication. It's not the only way, certainly, but it's the reality of today as to how people communicate with their children. Is it wrong? Maybe. But was it wrong sitting around the television?
There's no wrong. There's
No,
no
it's
wrong.
not about-
Sitting around
it's
the
not about the
television
right or
as
wrong.
a family.
It's
We've
not about the
evolved
right or
in
wrong.
many different ways.
I don't
It's
think
not about the
See,
wrong.
when we go into right or wrong, that's a defense system,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you're not going to get any points for being defensive. None of us will.
Right.
It's not about, I'm not describing right or wrong, miss. Please understand that. I'm just describing how your brain and mind works, and whether it's convenient or not is not an issue, because it kills a lot of the things that are normal now are killing everything. I mean, everything. So that'll be your kid too. I mean, everyone, when they go, they're all going to go. So what I'm describing is a mechanism. I'm not putting a judgment on it. It's just facts. And this has all been, this is so locked down and so agreed upon in neuroscience, it's a done deal. And what I'm trying to say is, if you extrapolate what it actually means, it means that the whole society, that's why people look like lemmings, little mice, and they all just follow each other by conformity. Conformity is very easy. Mm-hmm. It's always easier. And the ego runs by entropy. The ego likes the easy side and the convenient sides. And that side is like entropy. Everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
Dr. Grant, yes. Dr. Grant, I wanted to ask you, because before we finish, I was very excited about your book, Want More, The 7 Disciplines to Empower Your Life. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about that, because it sounds so empowering us is what this is all about. So I'd just like to hear a little bit about that as well.
You want me to do that? Is that okay, Steve?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's just one of the, your book and what you're talking about in your book is just one of the modalities of how we can teach our viewers what they can do, like right now.
Right. Can I just interject one thing before we go into that? I'm sorry, just want to interject one thing. I think there's tremendous value in sitting down with your children and watching one of those shows that you were speaking negatively about, and then having a conversation and asking those children, your family, how they felt about it.
Yeah, but you're not understanding the mechanism. What I'm talking about, hon. You ever wonder why there's so much cancer?
I think cancer is dis-ease. That's where I think it comes from. Dis-ease within the body. And I think that's all it is. But
I've had it, and it wasn't because of watching television.
Right. And I don't really think that dis-ease necessarily comes from, I think we give so much power.
I'm being facetious, please.
But what I'm saying to you is this. If you have to understand 4 to 6 hours a day, repetitive, putting people in defense physiology,
I know, that's not healthy. It's not healthy. There's no doubt about it. But I'm talking about the conversation that you would have with your family after watching a program there's value to that. There's value of sharing how everyone feels about it, what everyone thinks about it. And it has more to do, I think, with that than it does actually what we're watching.
But that's
okay,
fine.
And I need to interject one more thing, okay, now that we all are going. So I do believe, I actually have proof of this, that watching television, because, wow, I just connected that to growing up as a kid in a communist country, because what they give you constantly, every moment in time, is brainwashing, which is what Sensei has been talking about. So So if that's the case, then what I wanted to make clear is that when our kids are receiving all this information, and then we end up to be young adults and we are unable to process our emotions, that ends up to be illness and sickness, and that's why we have cancer. So yes, I believe that all the information that we get into our mind and how we then process it has a lot to do with how healthy or sick we are.
I can assure you there's no way to argue any of that. And your point about discussing television is absolutely valid, but here's the problem. They're watching it 4 to 6 hours a day. Are you discussing every single image
so
that they see?
I am not thinking that the amount of television is necessary. I am speaking to the programming itself. That even a very negative program for a family to watch is an opportunity to sit down and have a discussion. And there's value to the discussion because the discussion is really the cohesiveness of the family, not the television program.
Okay, wait, and we missed something. Hang on, we missed something. We can't have this show end without missing this. Okay, so when you ask the media about this, and I've seen lots of examples, when you ask the media, are you guys, the CEOs of all these companies, of all these media companies, are you feeling at all responsible for what you're putting out there to humanity? And you know what their answer is? This is what you people want. That's why we put it on.
Exactly right.
That's right.
If it bleeds, it leads. That's what we say in news. That's what we say.
What
That's
is that?
that's what
If it
they will
bleeds,
take
it
no
leads.
responsibility for it. They just
Well,
basically
anyway,
say that's what you want to watch.
If you want to know about that book, the book it goes like is fundamentally this. It's an entry level book to help people be able to find inner stillness in their heavy agendas. If they can find the inner stillness, they can start to take back their power. I don't go into the neurology. This other stuff I'm trying to discuss is a lot more advanced, but I will leave you with this. If you really have any interest in this stuff, the man who explains it better, in my opinion, than anyone else ever is Bruce Lipton.
Yes.
And
there was
if
just
you
a
go on,
TED thing on him.
yeah, if you go on YouTube, he is just a genius, and he's very, very, very good at explaining it. It's extremely profound, and if more people started to follow that, we might be able to reach my hope is that we can, with that kind of information, if we haven't found it too late, we can develop a critical mass in the morphic field and change global consciousness. But if it just stays with discussing the occasional television program, or it's just convenient to constantly find ways to use technology instead of human interaction, you're never going to make it.
Okay,
And
Sensei,
so,
we do have
Dr.
enough time.
Dr.
If we want to take a few minutes, we have enough time if you want to real quickly touch on those 7 disciplines. Go ahead. I think it's important.
The 7 disciplines is based from, I've taken from samurai culture. Samurai were successful in terms of behavioral science, for 1,000 years. And they have a lot of good wisdom there. And then what I do in my book, I substantiate that with quantum science and the new physics and the new understandings in health, because I'm a wellness specialist. And my specialty is the mind and consciousness. So anyway, the 7 disciplines is basically where you take the activities of a human being, which are standing, sitting, and walking. We're all involved in those. And then eating and drinking, and then listening and speaking. And what I do is I take the common principles of how to use the activities as you're going through your day, like as you were sitting in our chairs now, to be conscious in that activity and to imbue your entire body mind, because I tie it all through the body. I tie it all through kinesthetics, because with kinesthetic feeling, you can access the now. The brain, 99.9% of the time, it'll take you into the future or into the past. Mm-hmm. But if you tie through your body, and like if you think of a great actor or a great stage person, a great dancer, the reason we all want to watch them is because they know how to fully come into their body with full presence. They're fully there.
They are believable. They are believable.
They're believable because they radiate presence. So we can do that, and that's where the ADHD starts to go down. That's where we start to act with dignity. That's where people stop dressing like the village idiot and they take pride in being human beings again. That's where we start to become conscious, and most importantly, we actually start, and I think you'll like this, you start to actually experience being alive. Because the way our lifestyle is now, agendas are always future-based. I got to do this, then I got to do that, then So because it's future-based, you miss the present moment entirely. And then if you tie that into what I've been trying to discuss about the subconscious mind running 99% of our life, and it's all invisible, you've got a homunculus. So what the book is what I'm trying to do is just give them a way to say, slow down and come into the present, so that they can start to take back the reins and actually live.
And also, I'm hearing you say, Dr. Grant, to go within ourselves, to reconnect with ourselves, So this whole thing is really, as we talk about it, back to relationship, our relationship to ourselves, which no matter whether we're on the computer or whether we're watching TV, whatever we're doing, if we are connected to who we are, it's going to allow that connection to others.
Yes, I think that's
It's very, you're 100% right. For instance, if we're looking at each other right now. If you die right now, I'm not here. I'm here for them, but for you, I'm gone. That dress you're wearing, if you're dead and you disappear, the dress is still there, but not for you. You're the center of your universe.
Right.
If you drink a glass of water, the only reason you're tasting the water is because you're tasting the water. So we are the center of our universe. And if you take care of yourself, and that's why the subconscious mind is so important, it isn't you. People are operating like puppets on someone else's agenda. It's old programs we downloaded without ever knowing.
Sensei, we are on the live show, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but we are at the end of our time. And you were absolutely fantastic, and I think I speak for the entire cast if I say that we got to have you back because you are so full and so rich of this stuff that I believe not just all of us need, but the rest of the universe needs, that we'd like to invite you back in the near future. In the meantime, thank you very much for everybody, our cast, including Sensei, and all of our crew behind the glass. Thank you very much. And just a reminder that the more you vote on our shows, the more they are played on Channel 56, 57, as well as 219. And also, I want to invite you to interact with us on our website at livingconsciously.tv. And also visit our Facebook site at Facebook page at facebook.com, Living Consciously TV. I love you all. You have been absolutely, I had an absolutely fantastic time.
I hope I was
Excited.
Yeah.
You were great, Doctor.
And we'll see you,
Thank you,
of course, next week, same time, same place. Thank you all.